Welcome. This data entry presentation will instruct you on entering completed immigration court observation forms into our data portal. Once trained, you will be approved to enter your own data or to volunteer entering observation forms for other observers. Accurate and timely data entry allows this project to analyze new trends in court, share findings with stakeholders, and inform advocacy efforts. Before you continue with this video, you will want to have a copy of the sample observation form in front of you. You will need this to follow along in the middle section of this video. If you wish, you can request a copy of the sample completed form which was used for this video. We enter observations into Qualtrics, a survey instrument used throughout the University of Minnesota. Once trained and approved, you will be given the web link and password, allowing you to enter your own completed observation forms or those of other volunteers. The completed observation forms may be provided to you typed or handwritten in electronic form. Look over the forms you were given before starting data entry. It is not necessary that every question be answered, but you want to make sure the forms are legible and ready for submission. If you find any forms you have questions about, set those aside. When reviewing, it also helps to see if open-ended comments appear in the appropriate place. You will want to enter data in the right spots in Qualtrics, so a review in advance is helpful. Data may not appear on the submitted form in the correct location. We ask that this be corrected when entering the data into Qualtrics. When you click on the web link, this is the screen you will see. You will enter the password and click the arrow in the purple box at the bottom. You cannot simply press enter. You must click the purple arrow. On survey pages, there are both left and right arrows. You can click backwards and forwards if you wish to review or correct anything. If you scroll back and forth, you will not lose any data you have already entered. You can pause or even log out in the middle of entering a specific observation form. It will save your spot when you restart or log back in. However, you will need to complete one form and submit it before beginning to enter a new one. There is a progress bar at the bottom of the page to help you track how much of the form you have completed. The Qualtrics survey portal follows the form. The numbers on Qualtrics will match the numbers on the form, but you'll notice that not all items on the observation form are numbered, such as the observer's name. You will start by entering your name. Please follow the formatting instructions as they appear in Qualtrics. For example, the hearing date is recorded year, month, day, though that is unlikely how it is written by the observer. To move forward, you can tab to the next question, or you can simply click on the next question. Question and answer formats vary in Qualtrics. There are single answer checkboxes, multiple answer checkboxes, drop-down menus, and comment boxes. With drop-down menus, the options typically appear in alphabetical order, with the exception of the language buttons in which the most prevalent answer, Spanish, appears first. Only the most common answers appear in the drop-down menus. If the correct answer doesn't appear, click the Other button at the bottom of the drop-down. Tab to the next question, which will have a box for you to type in the correct answer. See the example for country on the right side of the screen. If a question does not apply, observers leave those questions blank. For instance, bond questions during a removal hearing are left blank. Sometimes a question may be left blank because an observer is unsure or simply overlooked it. If a question on the observation form is left blank, you can skip the question in Qualtrics. It is not necessary to click the Leave Blank button. However, on single response questions, Qualtrics does not let you unclick an answer that you have clicked accidentally. It only allows you to change an answer. The leave blank buttons allow you to essentially unclick an answer that you clicked inadvertently. You may be entering data from a handwritten form or a fillable typed PDF. If you are entering text from an open-ended answer on a fillable PDF, you may need to click on the fillable PDF to see all of the text. If you look at the two boxes of text on this slide, you can see there is more content on the bottom line that doesn't originally appear. You can click the line of text in the PDF, then copy and paste it into Qualtrics rather than typing. Unlike on the actual form, Qualtrics doesn't limit the amount of space for an answer, so abbreviations can be spelled out. In this next section, we will scroll through Qualtrics question by question. You will want an observation form in front of you, either blank or a copy of the sample used in this video. Sometimes minor updates may have been done to the Qualtrics form or the observation form, and you may notice a slight discrepancy between the two, depending on the version of the observation form you are inputting. This shouldn't cause you difficulty, as all the changes tend to be minor and self-explanatory. Always start by filling in your name. The hearing date, again, is formatted year, month, day, 8 digits separated by hyphens. The observer is listed first name, then last name. If it is an observer's first shift, click the Yes box. If not, as signified by a blank answer on the form, click No. Enter the 3-digit A number and note the country. The observer may have written in the name of the country, the 2-letter code, or both. Find it in the drop-down menu. If the country doesn't appear in the drop-down menu, click Other and type the name in the box below. Click the box for gender. Mark how the detainee appears for the hearing and add any comment that is written in the comment section, even if the detainee did appear. Complete the judge question using the drop-down menu. If the judge doesn't appear in the drop-down menu, click Other and type the name in the box below. You may have already noticed that comments appear in Qualtrics as separate questions from the preceding check boxes. This has to do with how Qualtrics is set up. A question can't be both multiple choice and fill in the blank. This is why the Qualtrics survey doesn't look exactly like the form. You will get used to this over time. Complete the DHS attorney questions using the drop-down menu. If the DHS doesn't appear in the drop-down menu, click Other and type the name in the box below. Note that the name of the DHS attorney may be misspelled or vary slightly from the choices listed because new attorneys may not be familiar to observers, and it is often hard to decipher the pronunciation of their name. Pick the one that correlates the best. There should be only one box marked regarding detainee representation. Pro se means the detainee represented themselves without an attorney. Fill in any comment listed about the attorney in the blank space below question 7. Note the hearing type. Sometimes, as in this example, a detainee will have both a bond and a removal hearing. If Other is checked, note the hearing type in the blank space below question 8 in the Qualtrics survey. Sometimes only one hearing is scheduled on the docket, but the judge will conduct both bond and removal hearings. You may note this by reviewing all the answers that follow, but the observer may not have gone back to check both bond and removal hearings if it had been unexpected. Please correct this omission if noted. For question 9, use the drop-down menu to select the preferred language. If the language doesn't appear in the drop-down menu, click Other and type the language in the box below. Question 10 refers to the language that the interpreter speaks, or if no interpreter, English is the language. Use the same drop-down menu and the box below it to type in language that doesn't appear in the drop-down menu. For question 11, was interpreter used? There may be more than one answer. For question 12, there should be more than one answer unless the detainee requested a hearing in English. An observer should have checked at least sequential versus simultaneous and complete versus incomplete if an interpreter was used. Enter any comments that were written about language or interpretation in question 12. The next set of questions pertain to bond. If there was not a bond hearing, all of these questions will be left blank and you can skip to the removal questions. You do not need to check leave blank on all the bond answers if it wasn't a bond hearing. In a bond hearing, observers frequently leave question 13 blank. However, if the individual is pro se for their bond hearing, the answer to question 13 will always be no, as this asks if the detainee's attorney came to an agreement with the government attorney. If there is an agreement, if question 13 is yes, you'd put the dollar amount below, no dollar sign, no comma, no decimals, 5000, not dollar sign 5,000. It is not necessary to answer any of the remaining bond questions other than the amount if the answer to question 13 is yes. In a bond hearing, the respondent, or more frequently their attorney, may request bond of a certain amount. If so, mark yes, and then fill in the amount in the specified area beneath question 14. If no amount is specified in the bond hearing, click No Amount Specified. Question 15 pertains to what the government attorney says during the bond hearing. Enter whatever is written. If the DHS attorney doesn't speak, you'll leave the comment box blank for question 15 and click the True, DHS didn't speak box below. There should typically be only one box checked for question 16. Either the judge makes a decision to grant or deny bond, they schedule another hearing date, a continuance, the detainee or their attorney withdraws the bond request, the judge hears the whole case but doesn't make a decision that day and will offer a written decision, or the judge doesn't set a date but tells the person to request a hearing when they are ready. This would imply that the judge enters that the bond request was withdrawn, but don't mark that unless the judge states it as marked on the form. If bond is granted, the amount will be written in question 17. If the judge denies bond, the stated reason will be entered in question 18. There is typically one answer, but multiple boxes may be marked on the observation form. There is a space to elaborate on other if judge denies bond for a reason other than the ones noted on the form. On this slide, you can see the progress bar on the bottom of the screen as you complete entry of the form. Question 19 captures what was said for the reason to grant or deny bond. Question 20 relates to bond appeals. If the judge makes a decision, both parties have the option to appeal. Ideally, both sides are asked, and there is an answer for DHS and detainee. Sometimes neither side is asked, and that box did not ask can be marked. Again, it is unnecessary to mark leave blank, but it isn't wrong to do so either. If the bond hearing is continued, put the date in question 21. If there is a date written on the form but the judge made a decision in the bond case, this date must be an error. Likely the date listed is for the removal hearing. It should be entered in additional notes at the end of the form. Just note, the next hearing is date whatever. Occasionally, the judge states that the case is continued but doesn't announce the date. Then no date given will be clicked. If the purpose of a continuance is to allow time to find an attorney, that box will be checked. The next series of questions pertain to removal hearings. Question 22 addresses pleadings, which is a process of responding to the allegations in charge in the notice to appear. Issuing the notice to appear is how ICE initiates deportation proceedings. If pleadings were taken, the relevant options in the section below will be checked. Pleadings is another area of common confusion for observers. If you see notes on the form about admitting allegations 1 through 4 and conceding the charge, which is the charge of removability, those are pleadings, and you should check yes to question 22, even if the observer checked no or left it blank. When in doubt, contact the project coordinator. There may be additional comments about pleadings that can get entered into the comment area. Question 23 refers to a discussion about relief and whether the detainee was screened for eligibility, whether applications are requested, submitted, or pending. Relief means relief from deportation, as in permanent or temporary permission to stay in the United States. Multiple answers are allowed to this question. Sometimes the issue of relief will come up in a bond hearing. Even if there is no removal hearing being conducted, questions 23 and 24 might be answered on the observation form. If so, enter the information into Qualtrics. Question 24 refers to the types of relief that were discussed. Multiple answers are allowed. Both 42A and 42B are types of cancellation of removal, one for legal permanent residents and one for non-LPRs. If someone's status as an LPR is unknown, then just the cancellation of removal box is checked. Asylum, CAT, and withholding are all on an I-589 form. If they mention the form but not any particular relief, then I-589 unspecified will get checked in Qualtrics. Again, sometimes the issue of relief will come up in a bond question, in a bond hearing. Question 25 refers to whether or not the detainee asked to be deported. This can happen at any time during a hearing. In fact, it's not uncommon that someone asks for deportation after being denied bond, release from custody. The person may or may not use the words deportation or removal, but may just ask to be sent back or say they don't want to be in jail and they will sign their papers. Any comment like this goes in the comment space under question 25. Question 26 is the same as question 15, but relating to the removal hearing. What did the government attorney have to say, or did they not say anything? Question 27 asks about the outcome of the hearing. Most of the time, in the hearings we observe, the case is continued. Occasionally, a case will be terminated, a finding that the person shouldn't have been in deportation proceedings, or a person is deported, or they are granted relief. There should be only one answer to this question. If relief is granted, the type of relief is entered in the comment space below 27. If the case is continued, enter the date using the formatting as shown. Please use hyphens, not backslashes. If the next hearing is an individual merits hearing, mark that box. If the case is continued to allow the detainee time to find an attorney, that box will be checked. Criminal history has an impact on both bond eligibility and eligibility for various types of relief. Question 29 addresses criminal history, whether it was discussed, whether all cases resulted in convictions, all acquittals, whether all cases are pending, etc. There should be only one box checked on this question. Mixed history means that there has been at least one concluded case, usually a conviction, and some pending cases or charges. Unsure outcome means there have been arrests, but it is not known how they resolved or whether they are still pending. You may need to read through the comments to understand which answer to enter if the observer has checked multiple boxes. Details about criminal history go in the comments section. Observers may put in more details than are needed. We don't need all dates, but summaries are helpful. For example, 2 DUI convictions, 1 pending DUI, rather than listing each by date, although we are interested in people in removal proceedings with very old convictions. Any details that appear on the form about criminal history should be entered in the box below question 29, despite wherever they appear on the form, be it in the margins or in the additional notes section at the end. Question 30 about discriminatory policing is both new for the project and subjective. It may be left blank most of the time. The equities section contains questions about the person's status and connections in the U.S. Often there is no mention of the length of time a detainee has been in the U.S. When unknown, put an X in the unknown box as shown on the slide for question 31. Often an observer will put in a year of entry. Please convert the length of time to the number of years since entry, or if less than a year, number of months in the United States, between arrival and the date of the hearing. Question 32 asks about the status of the United States if known, whether the person entered legally, for instance as a refugee or on a non-immigrant visa like visitor, student, guest worker, or if they entered without inspection. Question 33 asks whether the detainee has family in the U.S. This again is frequently unknown. In the box below question 33, enter any information about the family in the U.S., including relationship and information about their legal status if it is noted anywhere on the form. Question 34 addresses whether the detainee had supporters present in the courtroom and whether the court personnel acknowledged the supporters. This is significant because our data suggests more favorable outcomes with supporters present, suggesting strong community ties. Observers may mark "can't tell" when there are supporters in the court, but it is unclear which case they are present for. Question 35 addresses mental and physical health as well as competency, any possible impairment that would limit a detainee's ability to comprehend or participate in the hearing. Most of the time the answer is no, but if you see health or competency issues addressed anywhere on the form, including in the margins, enter that information in the comment box beneath question 35. When there are concerns, we will often flag these cases for referral. Questions 36 to 42 are subjective, asking the observers about aspects of the proceedings on a Likert scale, with 1 being strongly disagree and 5 being strongly agree. If the detainee is pro se, without an attorney, question 37 will be NA, not applicable. If the person is ordered deported, the answer to 40 ought to be left blank, as they will not be having other hearings. Occasionally, an observer will be confused and think 1 is strongly agree and 5 is disagree. If there seems to be a strong disconnect between the comments written on the form and the scoring of these questions, enter as written, but notify the project coordinator so they may clarify or provide feedback to the observer. We ask observers to document any new arguments, policies, or procedures. This will frequently be blank, especially with new observers who don't have much of a point of reference. The last comment section on the form is additional notes, questions, impressions. Make sure you capture all comments not previously recorded, including any extraneous handwritten comments in the margins of the form. If in the additional notes section you find answers to previous questions, you can use the back arrow to add the comment in the appropriate spot. Most likely this will be a next hearing date, information about family in the U.S., or criminal history. We collect detention location when known in order to assist with case referrals and to document patterns of problems at the detention facilities. This is the end of the form. It is helpful even for experienced data entry people to go back and review answers to make sure nothing was missed or clicked in error. Common mistakes are missing dates or putting your own name in for the observer's name as you're entering the form. When you are done with entering and reviewing the current observation form, click the right arrow to submit. Congratulations, you made it through the form. If you are ready to enter another form, refresh your page or click the web link again. You will need to re-enter the password each time. This is because Qualtrics is designed as a survey tool, not a database, so it isn't expecting repeated entries. Data integrity is critical for this project. That means doing our best to capture factual data and accurately transcribing the subjective perceptions of the observers in all written comments. Because we involve so many volunteers with various levels of training and experience, data integrity may mean correcting some obvious factual errors. It may include clicking some unanswered questions based on notes in the margins or at the end of the form. When reporting on data, we search for certain terms. For this reason, we ask that most abbreviations be spelled out. This slide lists just some possible abbreviations. Standard acronyms do not need to be written out. For example, ICE or DHS. We value your feedback. Contact the project coordinator if you notice new trends across numerous observation forms. You see that a particular observer is having difficulty understanding the form or a particular question. You see a pattern of errors across observers, or an observer asks a question on a form. If an observer notes the urgent need to refer a case, please contact the project coordinator as soon as possible. You may review this video as needed. You may also request a PDF of this training video. When you are ready to start data entry, contact the project coordinator for the web link and password. After entering a form and having it reviewed, you will be approved. You can then continue to enter your own observations, or you can contact the project coordinator to request a batch of forms from another observer to enter. You'll let the project coordinator know when those are completed and when you would like another batch of forms to enter. Please aim to complete your data entry within 10 days of your shift or 10 days of receipt of electronic observation forms. And remember to treat all materials with confidentiality. All questions can be directed to the project coordinator at courtobserver@umn.edu. Thank you for your interest and attention to this video.